Okay, good morning, everyone. We're gonna start our AMA now. So thank you everyone for being here. We're going to be talking to Nick and Santiago, who are our project lead and our art director, and they will be talking about the project in general, and then we'll move on to the questions. Everyone asked really great questions. So Nick, if you want, take it away.
Great. Hey, everybody. It's awesome to finally kind of talk to you all after talking to all of you in the forum for so long. We're obviously been working like crazy, and we're super excited to get these things across the finish line in a week. And if we sound tired, it's because we are. We've all been kind of working around the clock to make this really, really special for all of you. So I'm going to jump in. Basically, what I'll do is I will introduce myself. We'll talk to Santi about the art, and then I'll go into all of your questions and try to answer as many of them as I can, as time permits. We had a lot of great questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer all of them. Some of them were, styled more as suggestions or questions that are more suggestions. And please note that if we didn't get to your question, I will definitely try to answer it in the forums and everything coming in the days coming. But all right, so I guess the first thing I want to do is, we have this opportunity to talk. So I want to tell you a little bit about the project, how it all got started, how I got into it, and Jose and how he's involved, and just give you a little bit of background. We have, we're in my opinion, we have our great. I'm grateful that we have such an incredible team. Kind of from top to bottom. We have, we have Jose and myself who have kind of been playing with the idea of this Satoshi character and wanting to build it into this superhero universe, which I'll get to in a second. Then we have an amazing studio that Santiago leads the art direction for, and then there's a few others who lead the organizational side of it and the tech side of it. And so the studio is 15 really talented 3D artists, all in Colombia, in Bogota, or at least they are Colombian. Santiago gets to live up north in Canada. And then we have, so we have that's the team. And then internally we have Danny, who is moderating this, and she's the head of marketing and also our lawyer, which we would not be in the right place without, of course, because a lot of this stuff, to make it possible, you need the lawyers. And then we have a few other people who are helping with consulting and really helping us keep track of the markets and make sure that everything we're doing is forward-looking and future-proof. And we have a ton of collaborative partners. You guys have seen some of what we've been working on with the 100. We're going to be releasing more information about all of that in the coming weeks. So the team keeps growing. We're super excited to keep adding new talent and new people as we expand. But I think one of the great things that we have here is this robust, 20 or so person team building this out full time. And this is what we're doing. This is our main focus. All week, all day for the last 4 months, we've been building this. So we're really excited to move it forward. So just a little bit of background about the Satoshi verse itself. About a year ago, Jose and I. So I guess a little context. For those of you who don't know, Jose Delbo and I are related. Jose is my grandfather. And so we've kind of been in this blockchain NFT experience together for the last year and a half now. I got involved in the NFT space back in 2017. So I've always been a huge believer in the space. I was a lawyer back then doing IP law. And I just got super interested in the technology and what it could mean for digital rights ownership and just the future of digital assets. So naturally, having a grandfather who was this great cartoon artist, we said, let's take a shot at this. And really, right away, he and I knew that we wanted to create a superhero for the blockchain that kind of encompassed the story of blockchain and the lessons it teaches and all the things that we're trying to accomplish through the blockchain. And so we came up with the Satoshi the Creator character back in October of last year, he started doing all the illustrations. He started doing all the concept art. I worked with him on the story, and we started iterating on this concept. And then we started releasing pieces on Nifty Gateway of these, original concept art of this half man, half machine superhero who was battling against the defenders of fiat, which was something the community decided the name of way back when. And so we always had this idea of creating a superhero universe for the community, about the community. And so that's what we've been building out. And in the last 4 months, it's kind of expanded into something much bigger, and it's really starting to take shape the way we'd love it to. And I think, for us, this is something we'd like to push forward and make one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, superhero, universe in the blockchain space. So that's our goal. Satoshi's legions and the avatars are obviously a subset of that. If you haven't read the lore, I'm biased because I wrote it, but I think it's really a great opportunity for you guys to go and check out the story behind the Satoshiverse. We spent a lot of time thinking about the politics, the structure, the lessons, all the things. And, it was a collaborative process. I wrote something, and then we had the whole team, and we had outsiders who were experts in blockchain give their opinions. And so it was really an interesting thing to put together that story. So we have that's on the website. That'll teach you a little bit more about how the legions fit into this overall story. But simply put, they are they are the community within this world, right? They are the people who are battling against corruption, and they are the ones who are going to be fighting for freedom within the story. And so your legionnaire is your representation of your place within that fight, right? And so we're building out, as many of you know, the Satoshiverse itself, which is going to be this play-to-earn game. And there were a lot of questions about this, so we're going to talk a lot more about that when we get into the questions. But the idea will be, a play-to-earn game where you can earn crypto assets, whether that be NFTs or fungible tokens, by playing the game. You would use your avatar or avatars in the game. And we'll get into a little bit more details later. But the idea of the Legionnaires themselves, and one thing you'll see when you look at the art, is that we wanted to promote inclusion and really cohesiveness and community through anonymity and expression, through things other than the things that would typically cause us to identify. So if you look at the Legionnaires, each one is covered from head to toe, so you don't see the skin color, you don't see the gender, you don't see any of those features. All you see is the mask, the body armor, the weapons, all the different things, but they're all anonymous. And so the idea is all of the color variations in the masks, in the clothing, and there's going to be obviously hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of potential variations of what these Legionnaires could look like when everything's assembled. And the idea is there to have something that's expressive and that you can identify with without actually, calling on some of the traditional things that we would identify with in the real world. And so that's the idea, I guess, generally behind the Legionnaire, and we'll talk some more about that. We are going to talk more about the rollout, and obviously in the coming week we plan on giving you guys a ton of information. We're going to give you details all about the release. The one thing I will say is we've been struggling just as much as you have. We understand that right now, many collectors, most of our collectors, and we've talked to as many as we can, really do want this to be on Ethereum. So we've done everything we possibly can to optimize gas fees. We're shouldering a lot of the burden of the gas fees for functions wherever we can to really try to get this down as much as we possibly can. The rollout is going to be over an extended period of time, so you won't have that pressure to click at any given moment to beat the gas fees. So we're really thinking about gas and making sure that you all don't have an excessive gas experience during this time. Obviously, there's a lot of things we can't control. Unfortunately, in the last month, gas has probably tripled on the Ethereum network. So that definitely wasn't part of the plan, but we're doing everything we can to mitigate it. And we're hoping that, through airdrops, through other things, and through everything we're doing, we can still continue to create value for all of you that have, bought into this project, especially those of you who have bought in early, bought the pre-sale tokens. All of that, the pre-sale token idea was to mitigate gas fees so that, we didn't have this mad rush for people all trying to purchase at the same time. And also so that we could do things like the airdrops and, some of the other cool stuff that we have coming in the next week or two that we're going to announce for all of you to really make it worth your while for being, an early believer in the project. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about, which is very important, I think, for me personally, and the way I believe that successful projects come to be in this space. I think that, having been in it since 2018, I've seen the ICO boom and bust, and we saw what happened there. And, you've seen which projects have been successful and which ones kind of appear and then, tend to go away rather quickly. And I think the trend that we've seen in the best projects is that they grow organically, they grow methodically, they gain community and support that community through, word of mouth, through marketing, for exposure, but not necessarily for hype. And I think that those of you who have been around have seen that has been our growth model. We've been very much trying to rely on you, the community, looking at our projects, seeing what we're doing, really being able to stand on the art, stand on the project and say, look, this is something of quality that you can show your friends, and your friends will agree with you that it is something of quality to get involved in. Because I'd rather have, one of those types of people than 100 people who are just in it for the hype, in it to flip it. And it's tough because there's definitely easier paths. We've seen a lot of what goes on with other projects, and I think that it's a scary world out there, I think, for collectors, and we want to make sure that everything we're doing the right way. Again, this is a long-term thing for us. We plan on being around 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and building something great. And so we're okay with this being a slow process that results in an amazing community that I think we've already been building. I'm so proud when I get into the server and I see all of you guys answering questions for other people and really, taking a sense of ownership of the community as we go forward more and more. That's what I want to build, and we want to build, and we want to continue to empower the community and have this great community that believes in the project, really be invested and have input, and at some point really drive a lot of the decision making of the project. And so a lot of that's down the line. Right now, we're just focused on releasing what I'm hoping will be the most intricate and awe-inspiring avatar project that you guys have ever seen. And then a really awesome play to earn game to follow it. But as we, progress down that timeline, we are going to consistently look for opportunities to get all of you involved, to keep getting your feedback, and hopefully, if there's one thing that you could say if people ask you about me and this community, is that we care. I try to be there as much as I possibly can. We've got the team in the forum as much as we possibly can. We're here for you. We're here to answer your questions. There's no questions that we won't answer. Sometimes we can't answer them. And we might see a little bit of that today. But that's just because we have something exciting that we don't want to spoil the surprise on. So with that long-winded explanation, I will pass it over to Santi, who's going to talk a little bit about the art and actually show you some of what's gone into this project and the legions that we're building.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay? Nick, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, yes, you're
perfect. Okay, so yeah, like Nick was saying, I'm Santiago. I'm the art director of the project. Like Nick said, we haven't slept for the last couple of months, but I think it has been worth it, and we are super proud of how the project is coming along. I think it's a an extremely cool project, and I'm going to showcase some of the things that we have been working on. Specifically, I think I'm going to start by showing you guys how the backgrounds work. So if you have seen the previews that we have showcased in our social medias, you can sort of you have seen this background, and what it makes our one of the things that makes our project so special is that everything is three-dimensional, and even the backgrounds themselves are meticulously done and have tons of details, and we have spent hours and hours creating them. So for instance, here you can see the amount of detail that we have put into the background. So the idea is for these assets to actually work in the long term, like what Nick was saying. The idea for our project is to think forwards and to think to the future. So the idea is to create assets that are going to continue working for the future and for our video game and for our earn to play video games. So you can see here some of the effort that we have put into, for instance, this background. We have basically six different streets, six different backgrounds that each of them have 100 legions or 100 cities that we wanted to showcase around the world. So, for instance, let's start with Kabul. Each one of these backgrounds has a personalization process in which we start putting assets for each country, and we start giving some of the characteristics of the country, such as the flags and the lighting, and we change some of the stuff so we can show or showcase the different legions. The idea is for us to also randomize the light itself of the project. So a cool thing about it is that we can have different lighting scenarios in the same background, and that gives us a lot of flexibility when it comes to having a unique background. So other than that, I think the backgrounds, I think they speak for themselves. We're super proud of what we actually of the final product. I'm not going to show you all of them because we would spoil the surprise of the different backgrounds. But I can assure you that all of them are super cool, and every one of them has tons and tons of details and little Easter eggs and stuff that our main idea with the backgrounds was to for you guys to, every time that you open up your NFT, you are going to be able to find a new thing, and I think that's a common theme among our characters and our backgrounds. I'm going to show you to showcase super quickly our idea of the future for these assets, like I was saying. So these our characters and our backgrounds themselves are actually functional. I don't know if it's a little bit laggy in the transmission, or are you watching this?
Looks good to me.
Okay, perfect. So basically, yes, the idea is for these assets to actually be. I'm going to close one of the unreals just in case. And don't save. You can actually see the amount of details and the amount of work that actually all of the assets and the characters have. So, for instance, the physics in the clothing and the idea of actually you guys being able to even own your own backgrounds, basically. So yeah, I think this is only to showcase how this is future proof and how we want to continue working on this platform and continue growing this project in the future. What else can I show you about the characters? So, do you want me to show all the characters, Nick, or should we wait?
Why don't we show like 2 or 3 of them?
Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I don't know if you want to add something else while I open the project, Nick.
Sure, yeah. So I guess, one thing that I left out before that Santi did a really good job of showing is that, in the story itself, you have this is a global issue, right? And you have this global oppression from the defenders of fiat who take over and take over all these cities around the world. And the idea is you need this unified effort to bring everyone together, right? So legions themselves, these 100 legions around the world, we went into detail. We tried to find, we went through a whole process actually with a bunch of us involved to try to identify create that set. But we wanted to kind of say 2 things. One, we wanted to incorporate this idea of animated, unique backgrounds that are randomly generated that change, with each piece, which I don't know if I've never seen that before, but it's something that we worked really hard to put together. But then on top of that, we wanted to make sure that the artistic value was there in these assets. And so we added, like Santi was showing you, the flags, the major features. And, obviously this took a ton of research and time and building. But it was important to us to really bring home this concept of this world audience. And so when you get your Legionnaire, you're going to get Legionnaires that represent cities all around the world. You'll be able to buy and sell if you want on the secondary market, the cities that you identify with, or the ones that, maybe it's your hometown or your home city that you'll see there. And, there's 100. So we've canvassed a lot of the world. And then you'll have the members of the 100 who are actually representatives from or associated with those cities or countries, who are then, kind of the metaphorical within our story leaders of those legions. And so the goal is really to just bring people together and community together through that concept. And it definitely wasn't an easy task, but I'm hoping that when you see these things and start to really look at them, you'll be blown away by everything that we were able to accomplish with them.
So I'm going to show you guys some of the characters. Some of them are not the final version, so I'm going to try to be careful and showcase only the ones that are. But let me check. So this one is the one that we already showcased earlier, that I think you have already seen. But this one, even though the color scheme of this one is the same, you can also see that both the helmet and the headgear and the weapon are unique to it. So an important thing and one of the cool variations that we have in the project is that we have randomization in both the headgear, the weapons, and the masks, and I think that's going to give even more depth to the project itself, and it's going to give you guys more uniqueness to your characters and to your Legionnaires. Show you some others. Wait 2 seconds while the shaders compile. But I think this one's one of the coolest ones. The material should appear in any second. The content. They are slowly appearing. So we have some cool patterns that are going to overlay the characters themselves. This is an example. And as you can see, it has a different weapon, and I think this one has the same mask, but the mask itself can be randomized as well. And let me show you a couple more. This one won't work here. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Okay. This is another cool one, which is like a knight. I think it's actually called knight. And I think this is a cool demonstration of how the patterns are going to be differently placed on the characters. I think this also showcase that not all helmets are at all the same. This helmet is one of the old versions, but I think we have cooler headgear and right now, and they're going to variate. So please keep in mind that these are not the final versions. This is the ones that we have already showcased in previews. As you can see, they have tons and tons of details that our team and the team that we have is amazing, and the artists of the team, I think we are extremely lucky to found so much talent in our team. One is also cool. This one is the assassin. um, this version is completely black, but one important thing to mention is that all of them are going to have different colors, and the different parts of the characters can vary themselves. So you can have a pink assassin with blue boots and with different characteristics. We made sure that the color palettes themselves are look good in every single character, so we don't end up with a ton of clowns, basically. So we also curated the characteristics of and what changes in each character. So every single asset that you guys get is amazing. The masks also can variate the eye color, which I think is super cool. Are you guys still hearing me, or did my computer die?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're good.
Please, Nick, if you want to step in and comment in anything else, you can. But I'll continue showcasing some of them.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. I love that we've got all these set up. Yeah, I guess show a little bit more, and then we'll get into the questions. I just want to make sure that we have time to answer as many as possible. So we definitely will be continuing to showcase previews too over the next few days and this week on Twitter. So I know everyone's excited.
And I don't want to spoil too much, because I think part of the cool thing about the project is that we haven't shown a ton of the variations on some of the characteristics. And I think once we launch, you're going to see the amount of details and the amount of variations that we have. So, like I was saying, the colors are on the mask can variate. I'm going to showcase a couple of extra masks as well. And like Nick was saying, in the next couple of days, in the next week, we're going to showcase some of the masks as well. This one is one of my favorites. We did it for Dia de los Muertos, which was last week. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. What else do we have here? We have some really cool ones inspired by movies that we love. So this one is inspired by Tron, and you'll see tons of of cultural references in our stuff. Nothing to do with the specific stuff, but we did take a lot of inspiration from a lot of things that we love, and like I was telling you guys, the colors, the eyes themselves can change. So I'm going to show you some of the eye variations. Basically, they can be any color. I'm going to show you guys super quickly some of the colors, but basically we have everything from blue, red, pink, whatever. So that's going to add an extra layer of complexity to your character, and there's some mixes that look amazing. So that's something to keep in mind as well. What else do we have here?
And the masks are my favorite part of this project. I absolutely love the details in those
I
masks.
agree, and if you guys have read the lores, I think the masks are the most important part of this project. As Danny was saying, the masks are the crucial part that actually ties everything together with the story. And one of the coolest things of this project is that the story itself has so much potential, and it's so beautifully written by Nick that once you start understanding what your own role inside this universe is I think the coolest part of this project is that you actually have a role inside this universe, and this is not only a video game or an NFT project, or it's actually an entire I don't know. I'm not going to call it lifestyle because I think it's a little bit cheesy, but it's an entire universe that you're immersing yourself in. So I think for me that's one of the coolest parts. And like you're saying, the masks are the thing that ties yourself with the story and the lore.
Definitely. Thank you, Santi. That was really great.
Okay, sure. Do you want to
We
go
can
to the questions, or?
questions. Yes, we can move on to the questions. We do have a lot of questions, great ones too. We tried to put some of the questions were similar, so I'm going to be asking the questions and Nick will be answering them, but some of them are in groups, so you know, just because they were similar.
Sorry.
The first question was about the users in the game and if it's going to be limited to 10,000 or to 10,100 users or avatars, and if there are going to be later on other levels, other members, etc. So it's just a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess the caveat with all of these answers that we're going to be giving about the game is that the game is in development for sure. I think you saw that we have so many of the art assets already generated, some of the movements already generated, and a lot of the logics already there with what we've been building so far. But I think one of the cool things, and also one of the things that we're going to be doing in the next 6 to 8 months as we're really developing this game is iterating on these concepts and figuring out exactly how we want to structure certain things, what the NFT space looks like, how we want to bring in new communities. And so I guess that's a long-winded way of saying anything I say now is kind of just how we're thinking about it, and not necessarily how it's going to be. Don't quote me because I don't know. The reality is we don't know what it's going to look like, in 8 months from an expanding or contracting perspective. But generally speaking, what I would say is no. The goal isn't to limit the number of active users to 10,000. I think that this Genesis set the Legionnaires is going to be kind of the core, right? And they're going to be special, and they're going to have special features, and they're going to have probably special abilities within the game, and you'll certainly have advantages in one way or another within the Satoshi verse. On the Legions page, we kind of go through some of the things that the Legionnaires will grant you, and that's the idea, is for them to be like the early access, early community, first access. But one of the things that we certainly want to do is expand the community, and so there will certainly be ways to play the game at some point, but it might not be the first iterations of it. But at some point, we'd love to have the general public playing the game, whether that means that they don't have a custom avatar and they just use a base avatar, or that means that there's lines of avatars down the road, where we give you guys some sort of advantage for being a Legionnaire holder, kind of like Bored Ape Yacht Club did with the mutants, or something like that, where as the community evolves and as it becomes bigger and bigger, as we hope it will, there's opportunities for collectors who were here early to really benefit from that expansion. And so we certainly, being in the space for a long time, we certainly get that you have to be conscious of the economics and all of that whenever you do anything. But the goal is definitely not to limit it to that set. I think one of the other things that we certainly want to do is make our Satoshi verse open to other communities and other projects that are building in Unreal or in an engine that would be compatible with what we're doing. And so I think one of the big things that the metaverse generally is going to present is the opportunity for interoperability and partnerships. And so what we really want to do, not just have them come into our metaverse, but when some of these big metaverse projects are created, getting our Legionnaires in there so that you guys can jump in with your Legionnaire and play their games, and you can use these things across the metaverse. I think that is the beauty and the future of NFTs. Honestly, without that, I'm not sure that NFTs really offer a ton of value, because if you're on this closed circuit system, you lose a lot of the benefits of decentralized ownership anyway. So one of our core philosophies is definitely bringing other communities in, and also making sure that our NFTs are usable and interoperable with other communities. And I think the reality is, as someone building in the space, we start to see that the technology right now has a ton of shortcomings. But over time, I believe that it's going to really start to, these solutions are going to come to exist so that it's much easier to have interoperability. And we're definitely looking to be ahead of the game on things like that. Does that answer the question, Danny?
It does. Okay, the next question is, will there be a mechanism in place for Legionnaires from the same city to get organized?
So this is probably in that cool suggestion. I like it a lot. Now we just got to figure out how to do it, right? So there's kind of unpacking this, right? On one hand, I want to make sure, and we want to make sure, that there are opportunities for all of you to socialize and organize and get together in real life, regardless of which city your 1 or 5 or 10 or 50 Legionnaires are from. So there's that. But then, I think it would be really cool as the game progresses to have some sort of teams and legions and leaderboards and things like that. And this isn't something that we're going to invent all on our own. I think one of the really cool parts about having a more boutique operation is, and this community with the NFTs, is that I'm really going to look to all of you, and we're going to look to all of you to help us develop some of these concepts and help us. We can implement just about anything. We have the resources to build it, but the ideas are oftentimes, I think, going to come from all of you, and I think that's what's going to make a lot of this special. And I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully, we can do something like this throughout that process.
I actually really like this question. Are all avatars male?
Yeah, so the answer is definitely no. Um, the you know it's a little we were trying to, as best we can, come up with body types that were gender amorphous, that you couldn't really tell. Obviously, a lot of these bodies kind of look like big and strong, and I don't think that has to be male or female, but some of them do probably look a bit more male than female. But the idea is that they're completely anonymous. They're covered from head to toe. They might have armor on underneath, like that. All that stuff is kind of left to the imagination. But the avatars themselves are genderless, ageless, raceless, uh, from all different backgrounds and countries around the world. And so the idea is, put all that aside, look at the masks, look at the bodies, look at how they're expressing themselves through the art and through the different identifications on the avatar itself. And so that's a long-winded way of saying no. It's actually quite the opposite. They're all of that stuff is supposed to kind of be put aside.
The reason why I like it is because it really is the core, one of the core of the project, which is precisely that identity comes from art, comes from a different place. So
Right.
the next question is, when will you reveal the avatars?
So this is actually it's interesting because I can say this is one of those ones where I want to tell you as much as I can, but we're still iterating on these few things. The only thing we're working on right now is to make sure that we can do this in the most gas effective way possible. But the plan is to reveal the avatars intermittently in batches within the claim period. So the idea would be either once or twice or 3 times or 5 times as these things are getting bought and claimed over the period. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Actually, now it's probably a good time. All these details are going to come out very soon. We're going to put together a full list this week of exactly how the claim is going to work. But to give some context to this question, the way that the claim will work is that on the 20th, for the first, I'd say 12 hours, I believe is how we have it set, the Genesis tokens will be able to claim their Legionnaires. Then for the next 12 hours, Genesis and Platinum will be able to claim their Legionnaires. And then the next 24 hours, Genesis, Platinum, and Gold. And then the next 24 hours, Genesis, Platinum, Gold, and Silver. And then after that, there's going to be the public sale period for the ones that weren't claimed through the pre-sale period. And so what we plan on doing, as long as gas kind of cooperates with us and allows us to do this, is that at different points in that claim reveal period, we're going to actually reveal the ones that have already been minted. So, the goal here will be, for all of you who got them early to be able to see your Legionnaires without having to wait too long, and get excited about them and talk about them. And we hope that we really think that when you see these things, you're going to be really excited about what you're getting and what you've purchased. And so we hope that you'll share it, and we hope that will be a really good way of other people finding out about the project. And so we want you changing your profile pictures. We want you tweeting about it, talking about it. We want you to be as excited as we are about it. So we're going to try to reveal as early as we feasibly can and as frequently as we feasibly can. The only limitation is what Ethereum decides how it's feeling that day or that hour, and the gas usage that's happening. So we'll definitely get out the exact details in the next couple of days, but that's the plan.
There were a few questions, and these were ones that are in like a batch, about what's going to happen between now and when the game launches. So are there going to be more airdrops? Are collectors going to be incentivized in any way, etc.?
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's going to take us some time to get this game perfected and to get out the first iteration. As we've said, we're looking at mid to late next year in the FAQ. We definitely want to do things for token holders in between. We're going to be looking for every possible way we can to provide value. I think that that we've been in this industry a while. Working with Jose, and we know how collectors, how the markets move, how the economics work for tokens. So we certainly are going to be doing things in between to provide value. That could mean airdrops. That could mean like we've been doing for token holders. That could mean, or for Legionnaire holders. That could mean partnerships where your Legionnaire is actually usable somewhere else before it's even usable here. That could mean wearables that could be used in Decentraland. We might, we're looking into building in Decentraland so that you could have an experience there. So the short answer is definitely yes, we are going to be looking for all sorts of opportunities. That's actually what I'm the most excited about, is the period between now and then, all the different ways we're going to engage with people who own these Legionnaires, and even those who don't, who want to get involved in the community and want to, help us build what we're building. But yeah, I think we're fortunate to, have great internal resources, but also be setting up some really, really awesome partnerships, some of which have been announced, some of which we're going to be announcing, that will allow us to really bring this concept of interoperability and, cross metaverse communities home.
So this is a fun question, and it's are there any perks for holding AMO NFTs? And they actually suggested that maybe they could have a little parrot for their Legionnaire.
I think that in the future, the world is open, right? We're building this for you guys, and we certainly appreciate everyone who has supported, the Satoshiverse, but also Jose's art over the course of the last year. And so we're definitely, I can't say exactly how, and because we haven't determined exactly how, but I would love to have, 8mo type features in the game to incorporate that really cool community with this community and bring everybody in. I'd love to do things with Jose's character Death, which is, the first comic book on Maker's Place, or first comic book NFT ever, I believe, but it's on Maker's Place. And so that whole universe could be pretty cool within here. And so as this expands, as we start to do more partnerships generally, as we start creating items within the games, there's a world of possibilities. And yes, Jose is very, intent on rewarding collectors whenever we can. And I feel exactly the same way. So know that in anything we do, we will be looking for opportunities to reward, holders of these tokens, people who have bought into this project, but also Jose's collectors, and just generally, the members of the 100. There's tons of opportunities to do things with those communities and reward their collectors, Trevor Jones, Decentraland, Manta 33, and some others that are Lewis, and then there's a couple others I can't announce yet, but I think you guys are going to be excited about them. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to finding ways to reward you all, and we're definitely open to suggestions.
There were a few questions about the rarities and how they relate with the tokens. If the Legionnaires, depending on the token, are going to be rare or not.
Yeah, and so this is one that we've been getting, a long time. So I think a lot of people already, may know the answer to this, but we've also got a ton of new people in the last few weeks. So I'll try to do my best to kind of explain how we're thinking about this. The tokens themselves are the pre-sale tokens are meant to be just that, right? Pre-sale tokens for the Legionnaire. Those tokens, those pre-sale tokens, come with some perks, including collectibles airdrops. And so, like we already did one. We're going to be doing another one either today or early tomorrow that we took the snapshot for yesterday. And you get these like trading cards that we've put together, and I think they're really cool. And I think a lot of people have seen them, really like them. but those themselves are where the rarities come into play. So any of these airdrops that we're doing for token holders, if you have a Genesis token, you get the mythic rarity. If you have a platinum token, you get the legendary rarity, and that has to do with the scarcity of supply on the trading cards. The Legionnaires themselves are going to be completely randomized. So when you go to claim, whether you have a Genesis token or a silver token, or you just buy it, during the public sale, the traits are going to present exactly the same way. So you'll have the same chance of getting a really, really rare Legionnaire with all the trait combinations as you will a really, a more common Legionnaire. There's not really going to be like common Legionnaires because of the way that we, structured and the amount of assets we have. There's just going to be some that are probably occur less than others, with traits that occur less than others. But the idea was to make sure that all of these are super cool and there's no like duds that you're like, oh, this one sucks. But so I guess to put it that way, the Legionnaires are random. The airdrops are based on the rarity of the token. There's contests within our server that are based on the number of tokens you hold and the rarity of the tokens. So I know a lot of people who have held one or three or like one of each token and retweeted everything have won, a bunch of contests and, got tons of extra tokens and Genesis tokens. And so some people have done really well through that. And we've been that's one of the ways we've been trying to encourage participation and spreading the word. And so those were some of the benefits of the token and how the rarity works. Does that make sense? Is that clear, Danny?
I think that is, yeah, I think that's clear. The next question is, will we own the commercial rights to the Legionnaires?
Okay, so this is definitely one that it falls into the we're still figuring out the best way to do all this bucket. Both Danny and I are lawyers. We both have background, or I have a background in IP, and Danny's really familiar with it. There is certainly a right and a wrong way to do commercial rights, and as much as I love what everybody's doing with them, I'm still not convinced that from a legal perspective, anyone has quite nailed it yet. And so what we're planning on doing, we're going to have some rights associated with things. So there's certainly going to be non-commercial rights. You'll be able to use these in all these different worlds and take them where you want and display them how you want, all the things you would normally expect with an NFT. We also do want to encourage derivative uses and commercial uses at some point and the right way. And so part of what we're going to be working on and iterating on is a model that allows us to do that, but doesn't have some of the legal, I'd say, shortcomings that some of the other, models like Bored Apes do have and just haven't been tested yet. But unfortunately, when they are tested, may not end up working out, from my point of view, in my opinion, may not work out as originally planned. So the idea is definitely, yes, that's the goal. It may not be our starting point, but it's a point we'd like to get to at some point in the future.
How involved is Jose, and how involved will he be moving forward?
So Jose, obviously he's my grandfather. I work with him closely on a lot of these things. Jose and I created the character together. We created the story together. He's drawn obviously all the concept art for a lot of these characters, and he's an 88-year-old man, so he's obviously not a 3D modeler. He's obviously not he's not getting in there in the nitty gritty and checking every single detail. That's why Santiago is working 18 hours a day, himself. So Jose is kind of the architect of a lot of this. He sees, he and I put together the vision. He had a lot of the concept art for the story. It's kind of, the Stan Lee role, if you might say, in a project. If you guys are familiar with how that worked, and then we have, in order to actually take this into the future and take this into the next 5, 10, 20 years that of continuing Jose's legacy and really building something of our own based on his vision and my vision for a superhero universe for the blockchain. We are going to be continuing to expand upon the art, the 3D, all the different things that traditional comic art and traditional comic artists haven't presented in that way. But in the same breath, traditional comic art is at the core of this project. So with this universe, with this IP, I hope as long as he can keep drawing and keep going, that Jose will continue to create pieces for all of you, either as rewards or for sale or for collectibles or whatever it is. Jose did all the art on the characters for the trading cards that you guys are getting, which is a cool little thing. That's all Jose's art that you're getting airdropped into your. We worked with the studio in the backgrounds, and then Jose did the characters. And so there's he's definitely going to be involved. I'd love him to be involved as much as the old man can take. But the old man is an old man, so we have to give him a break sometimes and take.
Although, if I can add something there, I think part of the design team's tasks is to actually translate whatever Jose's ideas are into the 3D art. So I think he's very present in everything that we have done. And basically, the task that we as a team have is to be able to have everything and the designs and the ideas of Jose and translating it into a more into a new basically universe, but it's exactly the same, using everything that Jose's mind created, basically.
That's a good point. I was actually going, if you didn't say it, I was going to ask you how that process was for you with the drawings of Jose.
Yeah, tons of the things and the characters that we created actually began as a Jose sketch. So I think he's very present in the design of and the architecture of the project itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Okay, the next question is there only going to be one Satoshi card, or are there going to be different versions?
So I think this is referring to the cards that we're going to airdrop. And so I guess the answer is our plan is to just have the one card within this collection. I think, if you think about like Pokemon, for example, there may be, you have the original Pikachu, and then Pikachu's in every single, collection that they do. That could be something that we look into in the future. So I don't want to, say one way or the other right now. But that we're doing this initial first set of cards, and there's one character card for each. And so there's going to be the Satoshi card, the card for Nina, the card for Frank Fazor, for the president, for all these different people. I guess the dog and Eric, I don't want to leave any out. But yeah, so all the characters are going to have their cards, and this is going to be like the initial set of trading cards. And so these are going to have their kind of special first edition type, early release. And so if we do more of these, the answer is who knows. But this will be kind of its own collection, and there won't be another Satoshi within a particular collection. There is one on Binance that many of you know about. We did do a Satoshi card. That was like a 3D version that the studio created. This one's a little different because it's this hybrid 2D, 3D, I guess 2.5D, where you have Jose's art combined with a stylized version of the backgrounds that we have. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question, even though it's a little ambiguous.
A few questions were about whether the Legionnaires were going to be able to interchange items, so weapons or masks, eyes, etc.
So the idea with the Legionnaires that you're going to get is that these will be kind of the base, as a unit. This is like the base avatar, right? And so one thing that we're thinking about doing in the future is, obviously with the game, we're thinking about creating new weapons. Potentially we could create new masks. Potentially we could create new armor. There's all sorts of things that will build into these characters. But at its core, your Legionnaire, and we may not change the mask. The Legionnaire, that is the identity, right? It's the mask, it's the armor, it's the colors, and all those things. And so, while there will be opportunities, I think, in the future to upgrade or change your weapon or whatever, we're not planning on actually breaking the Legionnaires themselves, the versions you get up. It could be something we consider down the line, but the thought right now is that that's like a unit. It's your base character. That is, they're all going to be balanced in terms of, their different traits. Our goal right now isn't necessarily to make like one type of Legionnaire more powerful than the other or anything. They're all going to be like the base model that you start with, and then you'll be able to, level it up and have weapons and all that stuff that'll give you advantages within the game. But your Legionnaire that you start with is going to be your Legionnaire, and we're not planning on breaking that into pieces.
So there were a bunch of questions about the game, and those questions included different things. So will the game have its own currency, or will it be on a current one? Will the Legionnaires be able to interact among themselves? Will there be a chatting system? Is it going to be a year-long treasure hunt? Is the game going to be more like an Axie style or more like a metaverse? And so on. Like all of these were like questions about the game itself.
Yeah, so I guess the same kind of thought process and what I was saying before, that obviously we're still iterating on a lot of this stuff. And one of the things that make it exciting is that we're going to be able to work with the community as we develop the game to implement features. And the game, unlike, when you go to the store and buy the next Madden, NFL game, the game is going to be a living, breathing game, right? So we'll be here developing, we'll have our first version, and then the second version will come out, and the third version will come out, and the fourth version will come out. And so as we continue to build it, it's going to expand. It's going to be able to incorporate a lot of these features that you guys request. And it's definitely going to be front of our minds to make sure that you all have a role in how the game is being developed. There's certain things in there that, like things like which blockchain, which currency, whether we'll have our own currency. All that is still very much TBD. I think by the time that we release this game, the NFT and crypto space is going to look very different than it does right now. And frankly, I hope it gets a lot more efficient and is better for developers to build on, because right now it's a little bit challenging. But I have confidence, being here, about how fast everything moves and how we're going to progress so much in the next year. So I don't think it's possible for me to say it's going to be on this blockchain, it's going to be with this token, with whatever. I can tell you that I think standards for gaming and interoperability are going to evolve over the next year, and we're going to try to be at the forefront of those standards and of that interoperability. Our goal is definitely to be more agnostic to things, and while we recognize that Ethereum is the standard right now, and most of the value for these high value NFTs are coming on Ethereum, I don't know if it's always, for gaming and for other assets, if it's always going to be that way. And we're certainly open to kind of seeing the market, seeing how things are developing, what technological capabilities are out there. And then, on our own token, it's obviously something we would love to do, that I personally would love to do. And I think it's certainly something we're thinking about. Again, as lawyers and especially being based in the US, we're always thinking about how do we do this right. There's reasons law exists, and we're going to try to do everything we possibly can to comply with the law and make sure that, if we do something, you're not going to hear 5 months later that the regulators are shutting it down because X or Y box wasn't checked, and then, everybody loses their value. It's tough, but, right now I think we're in the Wild West, and doing things the right way in the Wild West is a tough endeavor, but that's what we're aiming to do. And we'll always be looking to do things that provide value to you, the community, in whichever ways we can.
The next questions are about the legions and the legionnaires. So, how are the legions chosen? Like, will you be able to choose? Will it be at the time when you mint the legionnaire? And will you be able to change your legionnaire's legion?
So the Legionnaire trait, the Legion, is going to be randomly assigned. There's going to be 100 legions and 100 of each Legionnaire in each legion. So no legion, at least the idea on the 10,000 is that no legion will be any more rare than any other legion. So you won't be able to pick them, because that's going to be random. The only way you could pick them, I guess, is going on the secondary market and buying the one you want, just like you could pick any of the other traits that way. You won't be able to change them other than going and getting, a different one. But yeah, that's kind of the purpose, right? Like they all have their separate legions, which is kind of where they come from and their origin, basically. But the idea is that these legionnaires evolve past that, right? It's this global fight. And while the fights kind of in the lore begin in each city, we haven't gotten there yet in the lore, but at least in my mind, this turns into more of a one world, one issue type of thing. And the future of the legionnaires is much bigger than the little battles that are going to happen within each city.
It actually leads me to the next set of questions, which were about, I guess, how this is going to happen in the game. Like, is a legion going to be able to sabotage another legion? If there's one legion that doesn't have a lot of legionnaires are participating, is that going to be a problem? Or how is that going to play out?
Yeah, so at least the way, again, same thing about what I said before about all of this being tentative. The way we're thinking about it is that the legions, at least in the early iterations of the game, the legions themselves won't be significant on like a gameplay perspective until the game evolves a bit. So you'll be able to do all the same things if you're from one legion as you will from another. The idea being that all these different characters are fighting this battle, this worldwide battle. So yeah, there won't be any legion sabotage. There won't be any legion versus legion, at least in the beginning. The idea is everybody works together. It's legions versus defenders of fiat rather than legions versus each other. The legion is more of a background and origin, like I was saying before, than it is like a gang that fights one another. It's everybody's kind of together in that fight.
The next questions are about the 100 and how is the 100 going to be divided. Obviously, we talked about there are going to be some for the leaders, some for community, some for causes, and they're wondering how those 100 are going to be divided.
Yeah, so again, this is kind of fluid. So the goal with the 100 is really to commemorate a few different things. People who have had a significant impact on the blockchain community, people who have been building, people who have been collecting, people who have artists, all sorts of different people who have had an impact, projects as well, who have had an impact on the community. And so that's who we've started with, right? We've started to reach out to a lot of contacts, tell them about the project, got them excited, and everybody who's been announced as a member of the 100 is super excited about the project. Most, if not all of them, have bought into the project and own legionnaires. And I'm not going to disclose how many. I don't even know actually how many they've bought, but they've got a bunch and have bought into the project and are super excited about it. But they wanted to be part of it, and we wanted their community to be a part of our project, and we wanted our community to be a part of their project. And so the goal with the leaders isn't just to say, oh, this person has a huge following and a huge community, because that's obviously a benefit, right? Like that's one way we can grow organically is by, working with all these different really important people in the space who have been significant. But on top of that, we want to expose you all to what they're building and expose what their community to what we're building. And so there's this idea of growing communities by combining them within this Satoshi verse. So that's kind of the logic behind the 100. The 100 is generally that, right? Like that's the core idea behind it. But we also view the 100 as an opportunity, not just to reward people who have necessarily done huge things for the space, but also to, recognize and reward people who have, done great things for the Satoshiverse or been big supporters all along. And so we are going to be setting aside a portion of the 100 for members of the Satoshiverse community. How we distribute that and when we distribute that is going to be talked about over time. We will in the next couple weeks be making an announcement as to a portion of those, and I'll let you all speculate as to what that announcement will be. We're still kind of ironing out the details, so I couldn't even tell you exactly what it was going to be, but it'll be fun. So that'll be a portion, and then the other portion that we definitely want to do is set aside some of these for charity and work with outside artists or even just our internal team and make some like really awesome Legionnaire leaders from a particular city. Who knows which city it would be, but finding really great artists, really cool art for that Legionnaire, then auctioning it off or selling it, and finding a charity that's tied to that city or to that country, and then donating all the proceeds of that auction or Legionnaire to that charity is definitely, we're definitely going to set aside a portion like that. So on one hand, that'll be cool because it'll be an opportunity for anyone who just wants to get in to have a chance to get in, but then to have all their money, like we don't want the money. We want to be able to put that money towards a charity or some sort of goal that country or that city is plagued with. And so try to do some good with these Legionnaires as well.
Definitely. Are there going to be partnerships with other meta worlds like Decentraland or Sandbox?
That's definitely the idea. So you guys saw that Decentraland is part of the 100. We own a bunch of land in Decentraland. We also have land in Sandbox. And the studio is, very capable in developing in both of those things. So, on our own, we're certainly going to be looking for opportunities to partner with them. But, obviously Decentraland is actually how I got into the space in 2017. So I have a really good relationship with their team, and I love those guys. They're all really, really great people. We are going to do everything we can to work with them, with Sandbox, Sebastian, another big mover, Somnium Space. Arthur is, an innovator, and we love everything they're doing in virtual reality. So that's another opportunity. And then, there's some of these ideas that as these pop up, you all tell me about them, and I will see what we can do to try to make it work. I'm very excited about the potential for interoperability and being involved in all these different metaverse spaces.
Are there traits that are going to be rare in the Legionnaires? And if there are, will we have a comprehensive rarity chart?
So the answer to both of those are yes. There will be traits that are rarer in the Legionnaires. Mapping those traits has been what I've been spending the last week on, but I and the rest of the team. So yes, there was going to be a kind of a complex rarity structure. We're planning on one, at very minimum, we're going to put together a list of what these traits are and how they present, like the probability of them presenting within the avatar, so that you all can see kind of which traits are rarer than others and whatnot. But we're also looking into partnerships with the rarity tool, the rarity sniper type of platforms that will do some of this automatic calculation of 11 different traits. Each one occurs in a certain percentage. This one, I mean, to me, that's kind of arbitrary. And I think in the end, what you see with a lot of these projects is you have those tools, but at the end of the day, there's certain traits that people like more, and there's certain traits that look cooler with others, and those become the popular ones. And So there's going to be some of the, these are just rarer, they occur less. But then on the whole, I think there's a lot of potential for any Legionnaire to have a couple like rare traits that present themselves. There's just a lot of traits, and there's a lot of different ways that the traits can vary. So yes to both. We will both have rarer traits, and we will be creating a sheet so that you can all track which traits present themselves more than or less than others.
And sort of to finish the same topic, are the avatars completely randomized when they mint?
Yes.
They're going to be real life events or meetups.
Sure hope so. I just got back from NFT NYC, and I was a little sad that we were early. All these other projects, I guess, were a little bit earlier than we were. I wish we had launched 3 months ago, and we could have done a big event there. But definitely, I see that, and I think that all around the world, I hope I can meet as many of you as possible and meet in person. I actually met one of the members of the community at NFT NYC, and that was so cool for me. And that was super awesome to hear feedback in person and talk about the project. But I'd love to do more of that, and I think it's definitely a yes from me. And we'll have to just figure out how to make it happen.
Are there going to be crypto prizes or pods to win in the game?
I think that the idea of play to earn will have some degree, obviously, with it's an NFT play to earn game. So there will be prizes in that sense that you'll be able to play the game and earn either NFTs or crypto or both. And I guess at this stage right now, exactly what that looks like is going to be a little bit more undefined. But as we progress, we're going to obviously find as many ways to make that super fun and interesting as we can and make it worthwhile.
Okay, and last question. Will the tokens and the airdrop cards have any utility within the Satoshiverse?
The tokens and the airdrop. Yeah, so the tokens and the airdrop cards are a little different, right? So the airdrop cards right now are like purely collectible. At least that's how they're structured right now. The tokens obviously have been driving a lot of utility up to this point, and then with the Legionnaire launch, a lot of that utility is going to pass to the Legionnaires themselves, because we obviously want the Legionnaires themselves to be like full of utility. But we don't necessarily plan on taking away all the utility from the tokens. We want to find ways to reward holders of the tokens, and obviously it's a good indicator of our early adopters, and I think that rewarding early adopters and people who are with you from the beginning is a really important thing. And so one way we can know that and do that down the line is by seeing who has the tokens, who's kept the tokens, who's had it for a long time. And so we certainly, that's information for us that allows us to reward all of you in different ways. And so I guess the answer is generally yes, we want to find ways to reward people who have collected the tokens. And then, the game just presents a lot of opportunities for us to do that. So, once we get into the game, once we're figuring out the exact mechanics, we're definitely going to look for ways to incorporate the cards, the tokens, and really anything we release, art. There's a million different ways we can create value through the game, and we'd love to find ways to do that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for sending your questions. Those were really great questions. Santi, thank you so much for showing us your great art.
Thank you guys.
I am a fan. And Nico, thank you for answering all of these questions. I bet you need some water now.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, but thank you. That was very comprehensive, and I hope we answered all of your questions. So thank you everyone for participating and for being here. A great community.
Thank you to Danny as well for being a great moderator, and and helping make sense of all this and helping me not keep blabbing for 2 hours, because I would easily do that. I'd love to spend all day talking to all of you. So we'll definitely be doing more of these. I enjoy it. Maybe we'll do one on Twitter Spaces next, so we could bring in a broader community. But keep hitting us up on the forums. You guys know my DMs are open. The only thing I will say is that the community is growing, right? And it is getting harder and harder to always be present and answer everybody's questions. I'm fortunate to have, Danny and Laura and Miguel and Santi and all the rest of the team around helping, answer these questions. And so keep asking. We're happy to there's no bad questions. The only thing I would ask is that we have spent a lot of time trying to make resources available for all of you. So the FAQ is always a really good place to look if you have questions. And as questions keep coming up, we try to add them to the FAQ. The official links has the website, which is also a good source of information if you want to learn more about the project. Scrolling up in the announcements will usually reveal, everything that's happened that's important over the past 2 weeks. We try not to ping a ton of you all the time. I think that's another thing that's important to me, just because I'm in a million different Discord servers. We try to be sparing with how we ping everybody. The caveat there is obviously we have that giveaway alerts function where we're pinging you all the time. You're more than welcome to not have the giveaway alerts enabled. You can just enable member if you feel like you're getting too many pings, and then you'll just get the at everyone's every once in a while. But yeah, we love this community. I could not be more proud of how this community has formed. All I see is good things, which is a really a blessing to have in this space, because there's a lot of mixed energy in a lot of these projects, and for the most part, everything in this one has been nothing but positive. So I know how fortunate we are to have such a great community. And then I'm not an art guy necessarily that from a talent perspective myself, but the art, just seeing it from an outsider's perspective, I've been blown away with what I've seen, and I cannot wait for all of you to see your Legionnaires and
Yes,
experience it for yourself.
From our side, it has been a pleasure to be part of this community, and to we're super excited what we have created, and I think the art talks for itself, and I think this idea of using these assets and all this art for a long-term thing is a fantastic opportunity for both us as creatives, but also for us as a community. So yeah, I think we're super excited of the project.
And the only thing I'll close with is one, thank you all, and two, please bear with us over the course of the next 2 weeks. Things are likely going to get crazy. There's so many unpredictables that go with a launch, and we've done everything we possibly can to be set up and make sure everything's going to go smoothly. But there's going to be a million things that will probably go wrong, as they always do. Know that we have your best interests in mind, and we're only going to do things that make sense for everybody. And we're here for you guys, and we're here for the long haul. So I'm just happy to have you here, and happy to be here. So thank all of you. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.